In this episode, we do a quick recap of episodes 1 and 2. We talk about creating a business plan, developing a board of directors for your practice, and we discuss the danger in choosing your clinical space and how to determine what clinical space is right for you. We also talk about marketing mistakes that we've made and the technology needed to run your practice, the software and the hardware. And we finish up with discussing a book, recommending a book that we believe has been vital in helping us start and manage our practice. DermBiz episode 3. Let's get started. It should be like a red light flashing right now that says danger, danger, danger. For 99.9% of people who are going to watch this, this is an area where people get in trouble. Before I go on episode 1 and 2, again, I just want to reiterate why we're doing this. We want to be able to provide content for people who are specific in the derm space, people who are going through challenges. When we started our journey with our derm practices, we didn't have many resources, and so we want to be able to be a resource for individuals who are out there going through what many people who are running dermatology practices are going through. With that said, so a quick recap of episode 1 and 2. I'm not going to take too long. Before you do anything that we're going to talk about in this video, we're going to assume that you already know why you're starting your practice. You already know, you understand your motivation. Is it economic? Is it recognition and respect? Is it mission driven or purpose driven? Number 2, we're going to assume you know the kind of practice you're starting. Is it going to be a solo practice? Is it going to be a partnership? Is it going to be a growth model practice? And again, watch episode 1 and it'll explain what those terminologies mean. Number 3, we're going to assume that you're already building your team. That's episode 2. So watch episode 2. It'll give you some examples and ideas on how to build your team and best practices in that area. If you don't understand all of those things, I recommend you going back and rewatching episode 1 and 2. We're not going to go into too much detail. We're going to attach a PDF to this that will go in depth. We could literally have done a whole episode just about writing a business plan. But just know that we recommend it's important. When we got started, we didn't write a business plan. And, it wasn't the end of the world for us. It didn't stop us. But it caused us to figure out a lot of things as we went, which you're going to have to do anyway when you write a business plan. But the business plan gives you direction. It allows you to make some assumptions and some guesses that may or may not be true, but it's good to have an idea on where you're going and figure it out as you start going in that direction, as opposed to just kind of winging it a little bit, which is, I'm not going to say we were winging it, but we didn't have anything written down on paper, an exact plan. We had ideas in our minds. So I would highly recommend check out the link that's below, and you'll be able to see a great PDF that'll walk you through step by step how to create a business plan. When you're starting your practice, it is very important that you understand the importance of having what we call what I like to call a board of directors. These are people who may not necessarily be working in your business, but they have very specific expertise that can help you along your business. It is very, very lonely. This is something that people don't talk about. I'm just going to put it out there. It's very lonely to be an owner of a medical practice or any kind of business for that matter, because you have competition who you can't collaborate with and have, and ask questions with. You have employees who, you don't want to be lamenting and airing your dirty laundry and your problems with your employees. And then you have family members who oftentimes are employees who don't understand the issues that you're going through. Your advisors are going to be a shoulder that you can lean on. I'm not going to say cry on, but it may be some crying days as well. And so who should be on your board of directors? Who are some of these advisors? First, you're going to need a lawyer. Here's the big mistake we made. We thought that you're only going to need a lawyer. Big mistake. You're going to need multiple lawyers. You're going to need a lawyer that specializes in employment law, in case you have some kind of, employee who wants to sue you or something like that. Let's just say hypothetically speaking, you're going to want to have a lawyer who specializes in business law. Whether it's incorporating, how to incorporate, how you should structure your business. You're definitely going to need that, and you're going to probably need other lawyers as well. Those are just the two that kind of come off the top of my head. The second level of advisors you're going to need is you're going to definitely need an accountant. You're going to need a good accountant who can advise you properly on tax matters. You're going to need a bookkeeper. In our practice, I'm the bookkeeper. And so the bookkeeper may be somebody who works in the accountant's office. It may be somebody who works in your office. It may be you, but you're going to definitely need a bookkeeper. Next, you're going to need a biller. If you're going to be taking insurance, you're going to need a biller. You're going to need somebody who's going to be able to get you paid from serving some of your patients who take insurance. You're also going to need a banker. If you're going to need to borrow money, setting up bank accounts, you're definitely going to need a banker. So these are just a few, there may be more, but just specifically, those are going to be some advisors and some people that you have to have on your board of directors as you're starting your practice. One thing to keep in mind, you're going to be getting sold something from people all the time. If you already have a practice, you know exactly what I mean. Everybody has a marketing plan that you need to buy. Everybody has a new package that you need to purchase. It's going to be great for your business. Everybody's selling you something. Keep in mind that one of my favorite phrases is whomever is good with a hammer thinks everything is a nail. Don't say yes. You don't have to say yes to everything your advisors say. You may not necessarily purchase everything that they say that you should do, but it's good to have them in your corner because their information is going to be valuable. I'm going to touch on a few, but I'm going to start with the one that we experienced the most friction behind, and that's getting credentialed with insurances. This is not a governing agency or governing body, but for us, taking Medicare, taking Blue Cross, and those being some of the heavy hitters in our financial insurance mix, we basically weren't really getting paid until our credentialing with Medicare and Blue Cross went through. I'll tell you a little story. So we started our practice 2018, September 30th. We did not get insurance checks. We didn't get paid from the insurance we were doing until 2 weeks before Christmas, December. So we basically went 2.5 months, no insurance payments. Basically, the only money that was coming through was copays. And so literally with the copays that we were collecting, that's what we used to pay the salary of our employees at that time. We only had a few, but we collected enough copays to pay them. I still remember when I went to the mailbox and got that first insurance check. Mercy and I, we did like a little dance. We were so excited because it was like, finally we getting paid, and they back paid. So it was like a big lump sum payment. But just a word to the wise, you want to be proactive and get the credentialing process started as soon as possible, so you don't have to go through what we went through with that huge delay in getting your insurance payments. Next is you want to make sure that you're licensed in the state that you're practicing. Maybe you did your residency in one state and then you're going to practice in another state. You want to make sure that you're licensed in that state. If you're a mole surgeon, you want to make sure that you have your CLIA paperwork and everything all put together so you can set up your own lab. Again, that has to be approved by the state and heavily regulated. So you want to make sure that you get that. And there may be many more other requirements as well. That's the reason why you want to check with your lawyer, check with your biller. They'll be able to direct you into the specific regulatory requirements that you need to take care of as you're getting started. When you start talking about the space, this is an area where people get in trouble. It should be like a red light flashing right now that says danger, danger, danger. Everybody's on Instagram and they're seeing beautiful spaces and they think that they have to replicate or keep up with the Joneses. There's keeping up with the Joneses, in the derm medical space. I will highly warn you against spending a lot of money buying a place right off the bat, spending a lot of money doing a build out right off the bat. I mean, You want to make sure that you have a solid patient base established, that you have cash flow and these different things coming in, because initially, and this may also depend, this is also geographically specific. You may have to have a certain looking kind of space if you're going to open up your first practice in Beverly Hills. If you're going to open up your first practice in, some super expensive place, you can't have a bare bones setup. But for 99.9% of people who are going to watch this, they're not opening up their first practice in Beverly Hills. Keep the expenses low, no matter what you do, because overbuilding your space could literally put you out of business before you start in business. What we did was we actually traveled to other hospitals and rented space out of those hospitals for about 3 years. We found hospitals locally that didn't have dermatology. It's very, very difficult for for hospitals to find dermatologists. And so we leveraged that scarcity and said, hey, they have difficulty finding dermatology. We're looking for a space. They have space. And we kind of worked something out, and it worked out for us. But again, a red light going off, flashing. Beware when it comes to the space. That's how we did it. Here are some different ways as far as when you're looking at starting a space. You can buy a space. This is what we initially set out to do. However, to tell you a quick story, to go back to our advisors, we were in the process of setting up the practice. We were sitting down with our lawyer who specializes in working with doctors. And so she gave a suggestion. She said, have you ever thought about just renting space out of hospitals? Because at the time we were like, oh, we got to buy this place, and it's going to cost this much. And, when she said that, it was like a light bulb came on. We found as we reached out to different hospitals, they were very receptive to the idea. And it was one of the best things that we could have did, not buying a place first, but renting space. So that shows the importance of having advisors. So one thing you can do is buy a space. You can lease a space where there's maybe already existing medical space, and you sign a lease for a certain amount of time. Definitely some advantages to that. You don't have to worry about having the big upfront cost of buying a space. And also some people do a lease. I mean, they do a build out where they lease a space, but then they put money in to reconfigure the space into their own liking. Again, just be careful. You want to make sure that you can establish profitability as soon as possible. So, first of all, I'm gonna lay all my cards out on the table. I don't have this figured out. I really don't. We're still figuring it out. We're learning, we're growing, we're getting better. I'm gonna start off with telling you some common mistakes, some mistakes that we made in the marketing advertising space. First is overspending on low performing strategies. I had the bright idea, and this is completely, I'll take 100% blame for this. I had the bright idea that we need to do TV commercials, and we need to do a whole campaign, TV, social, everything all at once. And we started this campaign, and we went about 5 or 6 months, didn't get much results. Now some people will say, well, you should have did it longer. Well, the amount of money we were paying, we expected to get results a lot quicker. And we found that even just doing simple Facebook ads or Instagram ads, we got more results than this whole TV campaign and everything that we were doing. So one of the first big mistakes we made, overspending on low performing strategies. Second big mistake we made, we took too long to realize we were overspending on low performing strategies. We took too long to change. We took too long to make an adjustment. They say that not making a decision is a decision. And so sometimes I was twiddling my fingers, and as opposed to saying, we need to change courses, it was just easy just to leave things as they were. So that was the second mistake. The third mistake is feeling like people were our friends, feeling like people really cared about our business. You have to keep in mind that the people who sell these services are salespeople. They're good at convincing. They're good at persuading. They typically have very easy and fun personalities. When you leave a meeting with them, it's enjoyable. It feels good. It feels like you got something accomplished that day. They tend to be outgoing. They tend to be charismatic. These are the people who are selling these services. So, that was one of the big mistakes we made, is not realizing that everybody who's selling you something, they're not bad people. They're just out to serve themselves, oftentimes more than they're out to serve you. So keep that in mind. So those are some of the mistakes we made. But here are some of the things. You can do social media. We're big proponents of Instagram and Facebook and posting ads there. Um, and that's a big area where you can do marketing. Obviously, you want to have a website. You want to have a website for your practice that maybe people can give inquiries about getting an appointment. They can maybe book an appointment. They can see all of the services that you have, and so it's just your online presence. You want to make sure you have an online presence where people can find you, and a quick scroll of your page, they can not only just find you but know what you're about. This is our number one source of marketing and advertising. Not even close. Number two is not even close to this number one, and that is referring doctors and mid-level providers. That's our number one source. And so my personal opinion is the connection that we have with these other providers, we built a lot of them when we were working out of different hospitals, because those hospitals would send all of their referrals to us because we were renting space with them. Um, partnering with providers who don't do the level of specialties that you do. Like, for example, we do mole surgery, but there are other dermatologists around who don't do moles. And so we establish a relationship with them. So they send all their moles cases to us. And so that's one huge area. But referring doctors is the cheapest and the highest rate of follow through, if you will. Like, it doesn't cost you anything to get a referral from a doctor. And typically, when somebody refers their patient, when a patient gets referred, they go there. It's not a guarantee when you put money out to for a social media ad that you're actually going to get customers. But it's a guarantee that anyone who refers you, it's about an 85 to 90% chance that that patient is going to schedule an appointment and keep that appointment. So referring physicians are very important. And then you have your traditional media, newspaper, TV. Again, I think that we've overspent in both of those areas, newspaper and TV. And so I'm not a big fan of it, but again, it may work for other people. I'm not saying that there is no specific right or wrong. There may be different areas and different strategies that work for different people in different markets. TV, radio, newspaper and TV didn't necessarily work for us. Billboards. We were actually kicking around getting a billboard. But when we weighed in the cost of the billboard relative to what we could do with that money in social media, we just didn't see the value in billboards, and also the limitation of billboards. The only people that see the billboard is people that drive past that billboard. Whereas with social media, you can literally target whom you want to see, the age, the demographic, the income, the household income. And so way more advantages to be more targeted with social media. Radio. We tried radio. And it was a fun process. They got an actress and she read our script that we came up with. And it was, but after that radio ad was going and going and going, we didn't see much we didn't see much from that radio ad. So we've tried a little bit of everything. What we found that's worked the most is social media and referring physicians. We found that to be the most impactful when it comes to advertising and marketing. Absolutely. And so I'm going to get into the basics. I'm not going to get into like lasers and micro needling. I'm not going to get into all of that stuff. I'm not going to get into stuff that you actually would use to perform services on patients. I'm going to specifically talk about the business side. The business of running the business. What software, what hardware do you need? First and foremost, you're going to need to pick your EHR, your electronic health record system. That's going to be very important. We use EasyDerm. Shout out to Easy Derm. We love Easy Derm. It it incorporates, it houses all of our patient data. It's how we send prescriptions. It's how we schedule appointments. It's how we do pretty much most of everything that we do that has to deal with patients. We use Easy Derm, but there's a ton of other ones out there. I haven't used any of them. There's Epic, there's Emma, there's a bunch of them. I can start naming them. There's a bunch of them. And so you want to pick one that works for you. You want to pick one that you're comfortable with. And now I'm talking to the doctor, the owner. It starts with the doctor. Whatever the doctor is comfortable with, and then everything kind of trickles down from there. So find which EHR you're going to use. Next is your payroll, your payment processing system. Are you going to use Square? It's a bunch of payment processing systems out there that you can pick from. Find one that works for you. Next is your fax machine, or your electronic fax. We use Doximity. We love Doximity because it's an electronic fax, and we have multiple locations. So, a fax goes through, we don't have to worry about, did it go to this office? Did it go to that office? It's an electronic fax, and so everybody can, use the same fax location and fax number. You're going to definitely need some laptops. That's going to be important. You're going to need some, you may need some tablets. We use EasyDerm, and EasyDerm is very much works with tablets. So all of the nursing staff uses tablets to scribe and to do everything. So you're going to need some tablets, possibly. You're going to possibly need some cell phones. We have one landline phone at one of our locations. The phone number doesn't work. We just had to get the phone to get the internet that comes along with it. But we use cell phones. And we also use a VoIP service called 8x8. So, we can have a cell phone. So as opposed to buying multiple cell phones, we can just put an app on everybody's phone, and now the phone could ring, and it could ring on 10 different people's phone, no matter what geographic location they're in. And so that saves a bunch of time and money. Um, Canva, you may need a Canva subscription, when you're creating flyers or brochures or something like that. Bookkeeping, you're going to definitely need a bookkeeping software. We use QuickBooks, but there's a bunch of them out there. And so definitely important to have, a bookkeeping software. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other software and hardware things that you're going to need to be looking at, but those are some of the foundations that's going to get you going. That's a great point. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that question. I would assume that location very much does matter. Maybe a billboard in a high traffic area in Chicago was going to give you a ton of hits. However, it's going to cost you a ton of money. So there's always the trade off. When you get to a bigger market, the media is more expensive. So even though it may produce more, it has to produce a lot more for you to get a return on investment. And so, I'll be happy to, I'll be interested to hear what people in other markets are experiencing. But I do believe that the geographic location plays a role. What that role is, I'm not completely sure, because the majority of our experience is in more of a rural setting. Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, anybody who's reached out to us to sell us products, the answer has been no. They've been rebuffed. All of our product sales have come from the mastermind, my beautiful and highly intelligent wife. She's very particular and specific on what she likes. She knows what she likes. She is a avid student of skincare. She's big on the chemistry behind products. She's reading the labels, and so um, she was the person who determined we need to carry this line, we need to carry this line. That was her specifically making the decision on what products to carry. Absolutely. And so, an incredible book that I would recommend is a book called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. This book talks about the importance of small incremental steps and small incremental habits, and how those habits have a big impact long term. Of all the stuff I went through, it may seem like a lot, and it can be easy to get overwhelmed with all of that stuff. But one of the key points that that book emphasizes is if you take things in small incremental bites, you will be amazed at what can happen over time. And so, my message to anybody watching this video is: don't get overwhelmed. It's a lot of stuff to do, but you can do it. Just do it step by step. And you will be amazed when you look back 2 years later, 3 years later, 5 years later. You're going to be like, wow, I can't believe we accomplished so much. So, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I will highly, highly recommend that book. My closing remarks are: just keep doing your thing. If you're watching this, I just want you to remind you that it's going to be tough. There's going to be some struggles. There's going to be some challenges. But there's other people out there who are going through the same thing you're going through. And we're going to continue to keep making content that can serve as a resource for you along your success journey as you're starting your practice and running and operating your practice. What other specific topics related to the business of private practice management would you like for us to cover? Please share in the comments below or reach out to us on social media or our email address, thedermbiz@gmail.com. Our mission is to create a movement of collaboration and support amongst physician-owned private practice owners. If you would like to join that movement, again, don't forget to like, share, comment, and please don't forget to subscribe.